So welcome back everyone. I have the feeling it's my own notification, obviously. Maybe I should unnotify my own YouTube channel. So yeah, which is here's the right one here. So we have no, but IOMMU alone does not change a thing because we have still 37 drop frames. So much to that theory. The more you test, the more you don't know. Welcome Danny, good morning, bonjour. And 37 drop frames. Anyway, let's run this here a little bit. IOMMU should be off. Is this visible in dmask grep IOMMU? Yeah, of course, Unicode gibberish because yeah, IOMMU off and there DMAR, DMAR, IOMMU disabled. So okay, fine. So 37 drop frames, 1%. So, but I mean, there clearly was stuff related to the Ethernet controller in the IOMMU logs, dmask kernel log. So GTK is still compiling here. This is data center. Obviously, that is not that affected by the reboot. And do we still have coffee to destroy our teeth? And drop frames are not an issue, at least. Now they are buffering to overcome those drop frames. What? No, there is a buffer too. I think the overall experience is better now. Well, it is less frames. I think always when, so what was before, I'm not, maybe I should check, I'm not sure. Maybe they sent video and audio separately because I had the feeling when I rewatched my own streams that usually audio was relatively okay. So audio was okay, not dropping out that often, and usually when audio was continuing to run, the video was still frame. So, I mean, right now it is better. 37, 0.9% obviously is, don't mind the teeth here, just when I'm 100 I have no teeth anymore, maybe. Anyway, allegedly. And can we have here more candles in the daylight? So, when you right click the video on YouTube, there will be a menu called Stats for Nerds. Really? Oh, Stats for Nerds. Interesting. That is cool. But I'm actually have paused it though. Oh, didn't know that. Thanks for that. Drop frames. Amazing. Follow latency sequence manifests into what network activity? Why is here? Cool thing, thanks. The more you know. And that's what we're here for. Learn more, answer more, question more. Like questioning Apple App Store, app, code signing 2.0, notarized app bullshit. Maybe, by the way, leave me in the comments below, by the way, more people watching our live Linux tinkering than App Store nonsense. Thumbs up for that from my side. And leave me in the comments below if we should establish a app notarizing and signing service for Linux apps. Would it not be amazing? Just joking, by the way, but leave me in the comments below if you like it anyway. And so we are updates, and why did I not press here something? This comes from pressing here too many keys uncontrolledly. Yeah, interrupted because I'm stupid, obviously. And yeah, 5 people watching. This is, by the way, this is a secondary stream. That's amazing. So one thing, I mean, beside, I need to really do some commercial work that pays more than $3 a day. Sorry for that. Beside, our secondary stream does not yet have enough 1,000 subscribers to monetize it. For what it's worth, Dutch authorities are investigating Apple for their unfair practices. And so I think I read this, and this is really all the app. And by the way, this is a funny thing when all the app fans fight with me on Twitter and forums and such over that they know it better, as if Apple fanboys know it better than the developers. Because for me, already before this, with normal code signing, it was already so much wasting my time that I'm not motivated anymore. Let's see, this DOS box is probably out of... No, it isn't. Wow. T's Pro, I think. So the next thing regarding to talk is something more useful. Okay, this was not so right. Was it not T? Ah, also helps when I don't mistype it. So the next thing beside, by the way, one auction I lost yesterday with a quest for the voodoo stuff. This is of course right now slow. I had also, but this is also right now because I had the challenge recently for implementing faster than Linux kernel frame buffer scrolling, because I really wonder why this needs to be that slow, especially on, not only, in my opinion, even on AMD GPU it's a little bit slow, this DRM FB or what this is. But guess how slow it is on unaccelerated stuff like this PowerVR. But even the P3 there, that probably all the fans also want me to continue with. And of course this right now is slow because this is running with only some 50,000 cycles. I think it was significantly faster. By the way, you can change the cycles here in this DOS box config. Somewhere there, DOSBox 074.conf, and controls as the cycles. Of course, normally you would set this to dynamic or fast or whatsoever. I slowed this down mostly for, not actually for development, but for live streaming from the ultra low voltage, low performance Microsoft Surface, because otherwise I would overheat the Surface and would get audio drop out there, other X runs, overruns while live streaming, and have not changed it back since then. So I also want to RM here the build. Yeah, okay, of course not in the history, but in this here. And so what is next? Of course, next is migrating from DOS to booting directly some, well, lightweight bare metal kernel. Of course, in the beginning not amazing, because time and all this time takes quite some time. Initially, I will do this a multi-boot kernel, meaning there is some grub. I think actually the grub people invented this for universal operating system loading. Actually funny that Linux is not using this. Linux is using its own boot protocol, but there is multi-boot that also QEMU can directly boot, which by the way I also fixed up a little bit. Alexander from Graph did this for QEMU, for macOS booting there, for loading some boot 132 or something, for directly loading the Darwin kernel, for Hackintosh, like, well, not emulated virtual Macs there. And I also at one time patched this slightly because it was were some typos or misalignments. Anyway, so initially we will make just a multi-boot kernel. This means we don't need to make much on the bootloader side. We can directly boot this with, I think, at least either vanilla QEMU or slightly patched QEMU. I've done this already many years ago, and do some light interrupt stuff and own real protected mode stuff, and like local and global descriptor table and stuff, and interrupt vector table and stuff like this, and get some code going, also then this graphic demos, and also here some outputs obviously, and then experiment, maybe even when we have this basics going, again make some video and sound demo, audio demo. Actually, by the way, all of this did not help much. We have, or is this, how much load is this? But this DOS box is not causing that much load, does it? It's a few cycles here on this 8 core. No, not really, because we have 8% drop frames. So this is ridiculous. 1200. What did I upgrade our internet for to have to deal with this kind of drop frames? 1300, 8.3%. It's probably just this bloody cable here, this segment in this block overloaded, I guess. Anyway, probably call Vodafone and complain, but anyway, so these are the next steps. And by the way, one thing, so on the real hardware, even on a maybe, I tested this on real hardware because I implemented already hardware scrolling, which on Linux also is not used often, especially not on vintage machines and stuff like this. So performance testing will continue also with bare metal then, and doing bare metal 3D stuff. Then I will probably even try to prototype some graphic server stuff for sending drawing commands like line bitblt and stuff like this, to start with things like that. And this was significantly faster on a real 486, maybe even 386. Probably should have made a video, but have not, because I have done this 2 weeks ago or something. And because I have there at least a demo for ET3000 or something, or ET4000 for hardware scrolling, to make the experiments how fast we can get this operations. And we have comments in the audience. So yeah, this is up next. We'll continue with this. So you see all this stuff is not only, of course, this is also demos to show you how this is done, and to also make use of our hardware acceleration capability. And the next thing, what I will also want to do, because right now we have only for the various accelerators, ET4000, S3 and Verge, and soon 3DFX. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, I said yesterday's auction I have not won. This was an SLE Voodoo 2, 12 megabytes, so 2 cards. It went away for a relatively okay-ish 110 euro something. Of course, again, still quite some money for this vintage stuff, but for an SLE configuration I might have done this, but with YouTube streaming with you guys I slightly forgot over this. So, but maybe it was for the better, maybe not worth to spend 120 or whatever much more I would have to bid for this SLE config. I will probably still try to find Voodoo 2 or Voodoo 3 PCI. This is also the problem, actually. Voodoo 3 AGP is often going away for slightly cheaper, but I don't want an AGP card, because this AGP card I can't use in the 486 obviously, or the early Pentiums for that matter, and I have 2 or 3 AGP cards from our vintage stocks. I don't really want another AGP card, because, for example, the Voodoo 3 PCI, which ironically are more expensive, beside this 3DFX Voodoo did not really use any AGP features as far as I've read. So this AGP does not give you really many benefits, and the PCI card is more expensive, probably because people like myself want rather the PCI card. The PCI card not only can be plugged into 486 just for the sake of it, but also in the PCIe extender with the PCIe bridge into a modern Ryzen, for example, just for the vintage and Voodoo fun on modern Linux in case of. This is why the PCI is so much more preferable in general for all that reasons, and this is why it's probably everyone bids more on that. And yeah, I still hope we get one for not that much, preferably below 100 euro, because we are cheapskates and such. And so comments in the audience. So this is graphic acceleration stuff, and then I will try to do benchmarking. I will also, for that sake, make some real 3D demo, because right now we have only this relatively unimpressive spinning cube stuff in one texture. And when I do Voodoo, maybe this or next month or whatever, which we can also start programming with PC emulator, by the way, which is always great help and cuts down time, then more demos with this, with a more fancy 3D model, and then also doing performance testing, because this is why I do this. It makes no sense to write a microkernel later, find out that everything is dog slow. This is why I want to experiment here with low level stuff, teach and educate here how is this done on a low level basis on cards that you can understand, where you find specifications and like super complicated Intel and Radeon stuff from nowadays, or Nvidia, where you don't get specifications. So comment in the audience, by the way, in 1900, so not only I/O MMU did not change much, also beside overheating, but this is back to normal because this stupid fans ramp up so slowly. And yeah, 1921 drop frames, 7.5%, so much to I/O MMU disabling helped there, not. Which British? Oh, my fellow subject. Let's see. When you right click, oh, my fellow subjects, the British, crack me up. What do you mean with British? Is that British? British? You mean Brexit or what British? Have I missed something? It will slow some useful stats. Okay. Watch the compile. I love to watch you compile stuff. Okay, that is also good because, yeah, redone here GTK Plus And what is, by the way, is Pale Moon does not build yet because this is based on Firefox, obviously, and somehow the other night it started to build a little bit, but then with whatever I changed it, I did not, because the problem is I did not version it immediately, because usually I try to commit stuff when it works, but I probably should have committed it immediately. By the way, watch my own stream, it's also not optimal. Yeah, so then I changed something, cleaned stuff up, that it is more really nicely more integrated, not hacked up, and then it built it less. And then the problem was I didn't have the real history of what I removed last, so I need to debug this. As you see, some old configure stuff failed there because of reasons, and yeah, otherwise would be interesting to see how that performs, because Rust gets slightly on my nerves. The more options the better, the more packages also the better. And yeah, good that you like to watch compiled stuff. And yeah, here's some GTK update cache stuff, shared file, but can ignore this, can commit this, GTK +3, and yes, EFI coming. I hate pressing the one wrong button and then you have some Unicode deliberation, quite some updates, because probably had there's some .5s in there or whatever. So much to taking a closer look on compile issues, but as I always say, status of error list. These are all the, actually can create error list here, because these are all the errors in this reference build, because this comes from years of updating stuff, and then GCC update stuff doesn't build. So you see, unfortunately, from 3600, 1800 errors, this is just all the KDE and GNOME update. The old stuff was bit rotten, because who cares about GNOME and KDE? The new stuff's not yet fully packaged. So, and then also stuff breaks because new version of glibc and GCC, and also, you know, wide angle and Fourier compose and Fourier and geomorph and whatnot. Many of these packages I've not even packaged myself. These were other people contributions, so then it's not the most highest priority. 2400 drop frames. Thank you, Vodafone. There were more comments regarding this. Vodafone, Dutch authorities are, yeah, same. We commented on this already. Same thing with business practices when it comes to spare parts, that they're in a lot of trouble here, hopefully. And this is also what makes me really sad, all the Apple fans not even getting this and fighting with tech people like us on Twitter and forums. They know everything better with their drugs, still on drugs in their reality distortion field. And instead of, by the way, this is also what makes me really sad, that people don't think this through, and people try to make a point and they feel themselves somehow trapped on their foot or something, and think they know everything better when they don't. And instead of they reflect on this and think about this, making their flame wars. I wonder sometimes if some people are actually Apple marketing trolls, or who knows what. Combined modem. So this is some consumer grade thing, because I said multiple times, we are not living in the office. At home we have, as I said already, we cheap out there. At home we have only some 32 Mbit down and 2 Mbit up, or whatever nonsense this is, because my wife sits there and such, and I in the evening and such, and internet and things like this. Netflix works in theory, so we are not the greatest movie watcher, and iTunes is a little bit stuttering, because certainly Apple cannot build a video streaming service, and peak bugs. And before I made this video, they had us send this old piece of shit back, which, by the way, we also didn't have so long, only since the last upgrade of this internet plan here. And before that we had the same business plastic Chinese crap router than at home. And I guess they use the same one. Unfortunately, for business only means you can pay extra for a fixed IP address, and you can get some business plans with no phone, because we don't want old-fashioned phone here. So yeah, it's mostly the same, although we don't, right now after this upgrade, we don't have the same as at home, but this is also DOCSIS 3 and it looks even crappy. I also wonder, you like reducing cost, and then the new router looks even lower quality than the old one. But whatever, and yeah, the phone and Wi-Fi stuff is disabled. The Wi-Fi is also not only, I don't want this Wi-Fi, this bloody public Wi-Fi shit from Vodafone. I also don't, in general, want this here in the office. And with the bridge mode, if you switch this to bridge mode, which you can't, I made this video, you can't switch to bridge mode after the first firmware update in the first night. You sit here without proper bridge mode, and with bridge mode on activated, then you can't have this Wi-Fi, which I don't want to have anyway. And at home, by the way, they make you pay for Wi-Fi, maybe 199, at least on the non-business plans here in Germany. And at home I actually really pay it because for energy efficiency reasons I don't want to have a second access point running there, and then for just some email and whatnot it's enough. And yeah, for normal home use, wife and such, and guests and friends and family don't mind their Wi-Fi, and then yeah, not to have, yeah, but so maybe not really sure. I mean, it's not so much electricity. I wonder with 199 a month if a second access point, but anyway, doesn't really matter. When we are away for some days, we switch it off anyway. Maybe I one day should just disable it for the sake of it, and yeah, buy a proper professional access point again, even for home. But here, even in the office, the set point is that, what point did I wanted to make with this access point? With something I wanted to say, no, I forgot it. Anyway, yeah, really sad situation there. You upgrade your internet, it doesn't really work better. I've actually the feeling it is worse. It could be coincidence for whatever reasons, but yeah, 3,299 drop frames, 8.6%. And this is what I wanted to say. The modem is stable. What's this? Modem is stable. Okay. And Cisco, security flaw each and every day. And yeah, this is a sad thing. Even with Cisco stuff, you get remote backdoors and stuff like this. I remember what I wanted to say. The sad thing is that if you, so until last year in Germany, you could not bring your own router. They had the stuff locked down. They would not give you a password and whatnot they would need for this configuration on this DOCSIS channel there. And probably because of, I guess, lobby work from Chaos Computer Club and other things like this, they changed this. There was some law, one of the few good laws from this incompetent politicians, like upload filters. Thank you very much for this bloody article. But at least since then we have the right to bring our own router, and they need to give you the password, which is at least one step. And by the way, even then, these bloody companies like Vodafone argued that the router, because they made the law that you need to be able to connect to the network, and then these bloody companies are so stupid, or well, stupid, they are so clever in their business practices that they argued this router is part of the network and only the Ethernet port at the end is the access port to the network, which fortunately they were not successful with this stupid argument. But anyway, then I still would have this bloody plastic shitbox laying around if I buy now some professional, really professional DOCSIS gear here, and I would still need to have this bloody piece of shit around, because if there's a support case, they would only support you, as far as I heard, if you connect this original modem and can prove that it doesn't work with their bloody plastic shit. And this is of course also really uncomfortable if we have here some 24/7 operation, or nearly 24/7, as good as this cable bullshit is. You have a support incident and then you need to plug out your more professional self-purchased gear. It would, in my opinion, it would be really fair if they would even give you a discount of €2 a month for not having their bloody plastic shit in-house. But that's not how companies are, unfortunately. For me, if I would be a cable company, I would be glad if people bring their own modem and I don't need to provide it to them, and would have support in a way so switched on that they could support and figure out if the DOCSIS modem there is connected and responding correctly or not. But apparently this is not how you operate infrastructure companies. But yeah, so much companies. So we need to fund a laptop production company, a cell phone manufacturing company, a cable infrastructure company, and everything else in between. And yeah, but that's for another year and day. So much to this test, and I probably will complain to the cable company. I have this one, works perfectly here. Good to know. Thanks for the comments, and that's it for today. We did here this updates, runted a little bit of random non-working stuff, because this apparently is what it is today. Can't even deliver working cable internet for not good reasons. I wonder, Sorry, what have I done with Linux header? That this is an update. Okay, I made here actually test for AVR, but anyway. Okay, this is, as you see, 300 changes lingering around all this started stuff there. And I hope you learned something. Thanks for the test and thanks for watching. You're welcome. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon for the next programming to come.